Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this series on documenting lighting designs. We've been talking about what exactly goes on a lighting plan. And in this video, we're going to focus in on the second thing on this list and talk about luminaires. Luminaires are going to be indicated on your plan by symbols. All right. The symbols are typically designed around the type of installation. So luminaire type, is it surface mounted? Is it suspended, etc. And then those different symbols are used on the plan to differentiate the different kinds of luminaires. All right. You don't necessarily need to show each individual specific luminaire type. For example, the same symbol can be used for all recessed luminaires, even if their individual finish details are different. All right. So here's an example of two different recessed luminaires. We might use the same symbol on the plan. How do you actually tell which one you should install? Tags. We'll get to that in just a minute, okay? So luminaire symbols are going to consist of some simple geometric shapes, circles, triangles, squares, etc. All right. They should approximate the fixture shape. They should be roughly to scale, as in if you've got a 3-foot wide decorative chandelier, you really need to make your luminaire symbol for that specific chandelier match the size. All right. But some of the symbols need to be drawn larger than reality for visibility. For example, if you've got a teeny tiny LED fixture or teeny tiny track head, you might need to actually draw them bigger than reality. All right. So the symbols are somewhat standardized, all right, but individual variations are permitted. And so when you are working within a firm, you're probably going to have a library of these symbols to choose from that your firm typically uses. So here are some examples, all right, for you to use. And now this one's from your textbook. You'll find it on page 218, and it's very, very small on the page. So I've blown it up here. And you can see that there's a variety of different symbols for the different types of luminaires. And whether it's mounted on the ceiling, okay, typically kind of floating in the room, or on the wall. And if it's mounted on the wall, it's typically connected to the wall with this little stem, all right? Now I'm giving you another look at some of the symbols here from a different textbook, the Architecture of Light textbook. So you have more of these examples kind of in your back pocket. And here's a third source for some of these luminaire symbols coming from another textbook, the Construction Drawings and Details for Interiors. All right, you can see that even within these three sources, there's going to be some variability in how these luminaires are shown. Let's come back to that idea about tags or labels. All right, in the legend or the schedule, a luminaire might be identified as just a circle. And the description recessed downlight. All right, so to show the difference between two different types of recessed downlights, maybe we have one, here's an example, in a kitchen, white trim and a baffle. All right, and then we've got also another one over the peninsula, it's a black trim, no baffle. All right, we might add a tag, and that's going to be this little letter floating next to the luminaire symbol. You'll often use tags for different options for the same type of luminaire. And when you do, make sure that you list all of them in your legend or your schedule. Let's talk about dimensions. Your luminaires need to be located within their room using dimensions. All right, if you don't put dimensions on them, they could be installed anywhere. All right, so you want to make sure that they get installed in the right place using dimensions. You want to use center line dimensions for all luminaires. You typically don't measure to, for example, the edge of a luminaire. You want to always measure to the center. If you need a guideline, a center line guideline, go ahead and add it. All right. Make sure that you use strings of dimensions. This is common, so you can see one here is a string of dimensions. All right, and notice that they're each pointing to the center line of these luminaires. Now, if there is a typical dimension, like you can see it right here, it says 9 inches typical. You'll notice that this one isn't dimensioned. That's what the typical means. All of these similar ones use that. Now, luminaires that are located within a suspended ceiling grid are typically not dimensioned. So you see these ones kind of just floating out here. That's because they are specifically located within that grid, all right? And that's what they'll be used to construct. For ceiling-mounted fixtures, you need to make sure to use 2 dimensions for accurate placement. All right, from the walls in 2 directions, kind of the X direction and the Y direction. All right, otherwise you're not specifically locating that fixture. You can also use a notation equal equal to center a fixture within a wall or a space. And I found an example for you here. If you take a look at this plan, outside on the porch here, we have this line of luminaires, and you can see that they've added a guideline, center guideline right there. And it is equally located between this column and this wall. And let's take a look at the blow up here. Here's this luminaire. Its dimensions are equal between this column and this wall. Let's take a look at this example lighting plan again, looking specifically at the luminaires. First of all, the luminaires are symbols. They're located on the plans. Okay, and then every symbol that is placed on the plan is also over here in the legend. All right, make sure you don't miss any. All right, the luminaires are also located in the room. This one is a wall mounted, so you can see that it has a tiny stem that attaches to the wall right there. All right, and it's located with this dimension. These ones right here that are kind of centered in the room, they're ceiling mounted, they're not wall mounted, are located by a dimension in the kind of X direction and a dimension kind of in the Y direction. Looking at this other example, you can see we have our luminaires located on the plan. Every luminaire on the plan is over here in their legend. All right, but this one does not include dimensions because these luminaires are located within the ceiling grid. Thanks everyone. In this video, we covered luminaires and how to show them on your lighting plans.